Welcome to Lesson 2, which will introduce you to the TRIMS program. Let's begin by double-clicking on the TRIMS icon on our desktop. The first thing that you'll see is a window containing tips. These will help you get started when you're first learning how to use TRIMS. Next, let's open a sample file. Clicking on this icon will bring up the Open Files window. Let's go into the TRIMS folder and then into the Samples folder, which contains several examples of risk assessments. As you can see, the files in this folder have three different icons. This icon here indicates that this is an element file, which means it is a risk assessment covering a single area. It might represent the entire project, or it could be just one element of a larger system. This icon identifies a system file, which is essentially a collection of element files. If you are working on a large project consisting of several element files, a system file makes it easier to open all of the elements at once. This icon identifies a TRIMS extract file, which is a small portion of a larger file that has been extracted to allow a specific individual to work on it. If you have questions about extract files, feel free to call the BMP Center of Excellence. For now, we're going to open the All-Purpose Missile System file, which we can do either by double-clicking it or by selecting it and then clicking Open. TRIMS will now start to load each of the element files that make up this system. The first thing that you'll see is a warning message. TRIMS has some very unique features. It will not allow you to let things go. With most programs, if you see a report and everything is green, you think, great. 3 months later, you see another report and nothing has changed, you still think, great. 6 months later, when you see another report and nothing has changed, you start to wonder if anyone is keeping the data up to date. With TRIMS, anytime something is overdue, clicking Yes will change the status to Unknown, which will increase the risk level of the template. If the data isn't maintained, the risk levels will gradually go from low risk to medium risk and eventually to high risk. The pop-up warning gives you a chance to disable this feature if, for example, you wanted to look at an archived version of your risk assessment, in which case you wouldn't want it to change. The next warning is telling us the templates that used to be too far in the future to worry about, that is, they were TBD, are now active. At this time, these templates will usually show up as high risk since none of their questions have been answered yet. Again, the warning gives you a chance to disable this feature in case you are reviewing an archived risk assessment. You can now see all of the element files that make up the all-purpose missile system. Now, let's look at the way in which risk scoring is done. Initially, each of the elements in our system is collapsed, but we can expand individual nodes by clicking on the plus symbol. We can also right-click on a node and select Expand Branch or Expand All. With our elements completely expanded, we can now see the entire structure of each element. TRIMS data follows a hierarchy that looks like this. The basic unit of data in TRIMS is the template, which is composed of one or more questions and represents a single area of risk. Templates can be grouped into categories, and several categories of templates make up an element file. Alternatively, you could have product risks or problems, which may also be grouped into categories. A system file is a collection of multiple element files. TRIMS uses 5 colors to display the status of risks. Green, yellow, and red are used to represent low, medium, and high risk respectively. White is used to represent TBD or to be determined. That is, templates that are too far in the future to worry about now. For instance, it doesn't make any sense to ask questions about production issues if you're still in the concept exploration phase. Note that TBD only applies to process risks. The last color used is dark gray, which identifies templates that are not applicable. This means that all of the questions have been zeroed out because they are not applicable to your particular program. TRIMS rolls up risk values using a unique display method that shows worst case and average risk at the same time. Risk bars show the relative amounts of each risk color. You can see when you look at this bar that on average, half of the program is TBD, 40% is low risk, and the rest is either medium or high risk. Unfortunately, some organizations have a stigma against the color red as a result of using red, yellow, and green to identify the status of problems. In many cases, it is impossible to eliminate all risks from a program. The goal in TRIMS is simply to identify those risks so that management can be aware of potential issues and take appropriate action. Risk managers may find themselves under pressure to eliminate all reds at the expense of accurate risk reporting. To help solve this problem, TRIMS has an alternate color scheme which uses shades of blue to represent different levels of risk. Alternatively, you can modify individual colors as you see fit. We'll explore this capability in more detail when we look at display options in Lesson 7. For now, though, and throughout the rest of these CBTs, we will continue to use the traditional red, yellow, green color scheme.